Hi, welcome to Sound and Vision. I'm your host, Beth Redmond, here with a new episode of Sound and Vision just for you, so stick around.
There's a house in New Orleans they call a rising sun, and it's been the ruin of many a poor boy. And God, I know I'm one. Sold my new blue jeans. My father was a gambling man down in New Orleans.
Are you from the South?
Oh, no. I just sing a lot of that kind of music, soul and blues and a dash of country. So I guess I end up developing that sort of sound.
Who's the country music inspiration that you are listening to?
I like a lot of the 50s singers that aren't very twangy, like, Elvis and Jack Scott and, Don Gibson is another one, Marty Robbins. Those sorts. Johnny Cash is really good. Those.
Oh, I love him.
yeah, that's more my type of country.
And Tennessee music and music scene.
Yeah, for sure.
So, I watched that video that Beth showed me on Facebook of you're playing in Cambridge on a Cambridge street. Amazing talent and that voice. Did you always sing this big?
My father actually sang, and I grew up watching him a little bit. He was a good singer. He was a little more courageous, and then over time, I eventually got into it. And then after that, I had no stage fright. It was like stage fright just kind of went in a second,
Is it the same music that your father sings that you listen to a little bit?
Pretty much, yeah. I mean, at this point, I've explored so many obscure artists of the 50s and 60s that I've actually showed him a lot that he wasn't aware of. But yeah, he used to have like oldies radio and classic rock, going and stuff like that.
Well, nowadays, vintage is so popular. There's a whole crowd around it. People dress up. They love listening. I'm sure people who are into the vintage crowds would just die to hear your music. They probably start dancing right now.
Yeah, yeah.
So where do you play usually?
Well, I play in Davis Square. I play around Cambridge. I've also been playing in the Garden. Around the Common, Boston Common, that area. That's for busking. I also have a couple shows coming up at the Burn, doing a couple of full band shows, one on July 3rd and one August 23rd, sharing with some excellent, two different acts, double bill on those shows. So I have
that's so cool.
I have the Mike Hastings Band in July and Eric Salt and Electric City in August.
Okay. And what town is it in? And
that's in Somerville.
Somerville. Okay.
Yeah. And yeah, it's great. Yeah, I don't know. It's funny. Like my voice actually took some time to develop too. And a really good thing to know if anybody wants to become a singer, just sing every day. That's the most important thing. To get good.
Well, I think you have to be born with that talent. And I also think you have this ambidextrous talent with all those different guitar and playing in your mouth. How do you do those and sing? That's three different things you have to think on your mind.
Yeah.
You have to be gifted to do that.
Well, thank you very much. No, I've just always had kind of the mind of an arranger. So the album that I released, I released an album in late 2015. That was
Can you tell us the name of that?
Yeah, it's called Sell Your Soul, which one of the songs I performed today, that's the title track of the album. And it's I ended up recording pretty much all the instruments. I had a friend of mine named Lloyd, played drums on 3 tracks. How's it going, Lloyd? And we also, but I played drums on a lot of the other ones. Had a couple of female singers from Red Number 5. Sang on a couple of numbers as well. That was great. But I pretty much sang all the backing vocals and played all the instruments. I played drums, bass, keyboards, harmonica. You saw.
How many years did it
everything
take you
else.
to do that?
It's kind of funny. Like I had almost a sense. Like I picked up the guitar, and I think after about 3 or 4 months, I was able to basically, play along with stuff. I
Wow.
could play better. I could play leads and stuff, and I got more skilled as time went on. But I was able to basically back myself after a very short time.
Wow. You're gifted. Not everybody can do that.
Thanks.
So you're telling me that you used to go to different shows and listen to music. You wanted to say about a certain band that you saw that inspired you?
Oh yes. Well, my most favorite show of all time. My grandmother recently passed away. Actually, she was 95. So lived the longest of anybody in my family in history. So, and she actually took my father, my mother, and myself to see Chuck Berry
Oh, wow.
when I was a teenager, and it was the greatest show I've ever seen in my life. And there was something in his performance. I felt like I intuitively understood what he was doing. Like there was something where he connected to the audience, and he just held a crowd in such a way, and I got it. Maybe it sounds in some ways hard to fathom, but he's sort of a strategic kind of guy. I think he knew what was going to work for the audience. He knew what number to do when to get the maximum reaction. You could tell he was kind of somebody who planned things out in such a way. And I also read his autobiography, and that confirmed my feeling about that. And I have some of my own theories as to what songs to deliver when to get a maximum reaction from the audience.
Wow. Did you ever sing with your dad?
Yeah, some.
Okay. I'm just curious, like, when did this big voice happen, and did you shock your parents? It must have been so shocking to see a shy kid come out with a big voice.
Yeah, well, it really is funny. Like they, so my father has a voice that carries as well, and it kind of just naturally happened. Like it's sort of an athletic thing. I tell people that singing really is an athletic thing, and I kind of, I mean, every time I go to some, place and perform, indoors, a lot of times they have to turn me down for a second because it's just, like they can't, get the, like somebody, most singers come on, they have like kind of a, mid-range voice. And
You're going to knock them out of the way.
yeah. And then I start singing, they're like, oh no, the whole place is going to explode.
That's so cool.
They have to turn it down,
So, I was hearing that you play garage band music, and I don't know anything about that music. Can you tell me of the song you sing that has that influence, and maybe the audience might learn a bit about it?
Oh yeah. So a good example of the type of stuff that I play. So I found a love for 60s garage bands that 60s garage rock pretty much started around like late 64, continued through about 68. And these bands were inspired originally by the British invasion, when the Beatles first came out, the Stones, but it was played with a little bit more aggression in a way, like maybe the Stones at their wildest.
Sounds like a fusion because you have a southern accent, but then they're British English sound. That's very interesting.
Yeah, well, they were actually inspired by us Americans.
Oh,
So
they're stealing from us first.
Exactly. Yeah. So we, the '50s rock and roll, with guys like Chuck Berry and Elvis, and Buddy Holly. These people came out, and then the Beatles and so forth were inspired by those groups. And when things were starting to get a little less rocking around here, I mean, there was still good music in the early 60s here, but it was, going in a different direction. The Beatles and Stones and those groups injected a much needed, shot in the arm for us Americans, and then us Americans were inspired by them in turn. So
Wow.
so that was great.
So are you writing any new music now? I know you have a fiance there. Are you going to write any songs about her?
Oh yes, I'm gonna have to. I think I'm required to do that now. But yeah, I have. So 2 of the songs I did today actually are going to be on the new album.
Oh, what's the name of the new album?
I don't have a title
Okay.
just yet. Well, I actually do, but I don't want to give it away just yet. But it's going to be great. So.
Do you have a website or Facebook that we can look you up to find out more about your music?
I do, yeah. So I'm on RolandPearsall.com, RolandPearsall.com. That's my website. I also have a Facebook fan page, which is just Roland Pearsall Music. Yeah, so everybody out there, please like the page. Every like counts.
And go to his show.
Yeah.
And if you're hearing a very loud voice in Cambridge, this is this guy. And come to his show. And thank you for coming to Sound and Vision and bringing your beautiful voice. And I can't wait to hear you next time to hear the songs about your new wife.
All right. Well, thank you so much for having me.
Thank you, everyone.
All right.
Night.
Good night.
Well, that does it for this episode of Sound and Vision. Thanks again for joining us, and you can like us on Facebook at facebook.com/svcambridge. That's facebook.com/svcambridge. Thanks again for joining us. Bye-bye.
My father was a gambling man down in New Orleans. Now the only thing gambling needs is a suitcase and a truck. And the only time he is satisfied is when